In the city of Varelia, the skyline shimmered like liquid metal under a green-tinted sky. Hovercrafts hummed between glass spires, and the streets glowed with bioluminescent moss that absorbed pollution and exhaled oxygen. It was a city of marvels, but for Aline, none of it mattered. She hadn't walked in 19 years. She was a Kyrian, a species known for their towering height, pale silver skin, and digitigrade legs built for leaping across the cliffs of their homeworld. But when she was a child, her colony ship had been struck by an asteroid fragment. The explosion crushed the lower half of her body. Her people had tried to save her, but Kyrian medicine was primitive compared to the technologies of the wider galaxy. Her legs were amputated, and for the next 2 decades, she lived in a hovering chair, drifting through life like a ghost among giants. Aline was 34 when she first met Dr. Elias Monroe, the human who would change her life. Part 1: The Girl in the Chair. Elias was a xenobiologist and biomechanical engineer from Earth, part of an interspecies research exchange. Humans had only recently been admitted to the Galactic Union, and most still thought of them as reckless newcomers who barely understood the universe they'd stumbled into. He came to Varelia to study Kyrian physiology, fascinated by how their bone structure distributed gravity differently than most bipedal species. His lab was small, buried beneath the city's eastern district, and he often worked alone, surrounded by half-finished exosuits and vats of glowing nanogel. When Aline came to him, she wasn't looking for help. She came because she was curious. She'd heard of the human scientist who was trying to grow legs in tanks. The rumor made her laugh at first. It sounded absurd, even offensive. But curiosity gnawed at her. So she went, gliding through the sterile corridors of the biolab until she found him bent over a holoscreen, muttering to himself. He looked up when she entered. His hair was a wild halo of dark curls, his eyes sharp with sleeplessness. "You must be Aline," he said, voice warm and unassuming. "You came to see my monsters." "They say you're building legs in jars," she said flatly. He smiled. "Not jars, biotubes, and they're not legs, not yet. But they could be." He led her to a glass cylinder filled with translucent fluid. Inside, 2 elongated limbs floated, sinewy, unfinished things, half-grown from a framework of nanofibers and muscle tissue. They pulsed faintly like something dreaming. Aline felt her heart twist. "They're alive." "Not yet," he said. "They're waiting for someone to walk with them." She almost laughed, but something stopped her. His voice wasn't a joke. It was hope. Part 2: The Experiment. Over the following weeks, Aline found herself returning to Elias's lab. At first, it was simple curiosity, watching him sculpt muscles out of protein strands and weave artificial nerves through synthetic bone. But over time, she started to help him. Her knowledge of Kyrian biology filled the gaps in his data. She explained how her species' blood carried crystalline oxygenators, how their bones flexed slightly to absorb impact. He taught her how to manipulate nanofibers, how to adjust genetic parameters in the vat-grown tissues. For the first time in her life, Aline felt useful. She wasn't just a patient or a burden. She was a partner in something that could rewrite what was possible. One evening, as they worked in silence, Elias spoke. "You ever wonder what it'll feel like to walk?" He nodded. Aline stared at the floor. "I used to dream about it. When I was little, I'd dream I was running again. My legs were whole, the wind was real. But when I woke up, I couldn't even feel my feet." He hesitated, then said softly, "What if the dream could wake up too?" She turned to him, unsure if she should laugh or cry. "You can't promise that." "No," he said. "But I can try." Part 3: the human solution. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. Elias discovered that Kyrian neural tissue could integrate with human-designed synapse bridges, tiny organic circuits developed for Earth's prosthetic soldiers. He ran the simulations over and over. The data screamed one thing: a hybrid interface could work. But the ethics board would never approve it. Kyrian medicine forbade mixing alien genetic material into their bodies. It was considered a desecration of form. Elias brought her the results in secret. "If you say no," he told her, "I'll destroy the data. No one will ever know." Aline looked at the glowing readout, her heart pounding. For half her life, she'd been confined to a chair, a spectator in her own story. Every cell in her body screamed for freedom. "Do it," she whispered. Part 4. The grafting. The procedure took 20 hours. Elias worked with surgical precision, guided by robotic arms and streams of green data. The hybrid legs, part Kyrian tissue, part human biotech, were grafted onto her body at the pelvis. The nanofibers wove themselves into her nervous system, threading through her spinal cord like silver vines. Aline drifted in and out of consciousness. She saw flashes, lights, voices, the faint vibration of machines whispering in her blood. When she finally awoke, the world was quiet. Her body felt strange, heavier, alive in ways she didn't recognize. Elias stood beside her, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. "Can you feel them?" She looked down. The legs were sleek, pale silver with faint blue veins glowing beneath the skin. They looked real. They looked hers. "I don't know. Try to move them," he said softly. She tried and nothing happened. Panic surged through her chest. "Easy," Elias said. "Your body's still learning. The nerves need time." Took weeks. Every day they trained. Elias programmed virtual simulations, helping her brain reconnect to sensations long forgotten. At first, she could only twitch a toe, then a whole foot. Then one miraculous morning she flexed both legs. She cried, tears spilling freely as the muscles obeyed her mind. "Welcome back," Elias said, smiling through his exhaustion. Part 5. The first step the day she stood up was the first sunrise she'd seen outside the lab. Elias supported her as she gripped the rail. The air shimmered around them, full of the scent of ozone and moss. Her new legs trembled under her weight. She could feel every vibration in the ground, every shift of balance. "Don't think," he said. "Just let your body remember." She took one step, then another. The world tilted, she almost fell, but Elias caught her. And then she laughed, wild and disbelieving. For the first time in 19 years, she was standing on her own 2 feet. She walked until her knees gave out, collapsing into his arms. "I did it," she gasped. "You did," he said, holding her tightly. "You really did." Part 6. The consequence, but miracles never come without a price. Word of Elias's experiment spread. The Union Medical Council launched an investigation. Kyrian purists accused him of genetic heresy. Protesters gathered outside the lab, chanting that the human abomination had tainted one of their own. Elias faced imprisonment. Aline was ordered to surrender the grafts for biological review. "I won't let them take them," she said, voice shaking. "They'll destroy you, Aline," he said. "They'll claim it's for science, but they're afraid of what you represent." She clenched her fists. "Then we run." They fled into the outer colonies, beyond the jurisdiction of the Union. They hid in forgotten mining settlements, moving under false identities. Elias continued refining his work, building more hybrid prosthetics in secret. Together they healed others who had been abandoned by their governments. War survivors, accident victims, outcasts from every species. Aline became a symbol of hope, known among refugees as the woman who walked again. Part 7. The return. Years passed. The galaxy began to change. Word of the hybrid prosthetics spread faster than the authorities could suppress it. People from every world began seeking them out, desperate for the same second chance. Finally, after nearly a decade in hiding, the Galactic Council summoned Aline herself to testify. She walked into the great marble chamber, her every step echoing across the dome. Millions watched the broadcast. A crippled girl turned living legend. "I am not a crime," she said, voice steady. "I am proof that compassion is not a violation of nature. I am proof that when species work together, when we trust each other, miracles happen." Silence filled the chamber. Then applause. Hesitant at first, then thunderous. Elias, standing behind her, felt his throat tighten. In that moment he knew. His reckless experiment had changed more than one life. It had changed the galaxy's idea of what it meant to be alive. Part 8. The final horizon. Years later, Aline returned to her homeworld. The cliffs of Kyria stretched beneath twin suns, golden light cascading across endless valleys. She stood at the edge, wind rushing past her face, her new legs rooted in the soil of the world that once rejected her. Elias was beside her, older now, his once dark hair streaked with gray. "You ever think about that day in the lab?" he asked. She smiled. "Every day. You gave me back more than legs, Elias. You gave me a life worth walking through." He chuckled softly. "No, Aline. You gave yourself that life. I just handed you the tools." For a moment neither spoke. Then Aline took a deep breath and jumped. Her legs propelled her into the air, higher than she'd ever dreamed possible. The wind roared past her as she landed gracefully on another cliff, laughter echoing across the canyon. Elias watched, tears shining in his eyes. "She could never walk," he whispered, "and now she flies." Under the twin suns of Kyria, Aline looked to the sky, the same sky that had once held her prisoner, and smiled. Because for the first time in half her life, she wasn't bound by gravity, by fear, or by the limitations of the past. She was free.